So now we're going to talk about one of my favorite habits actually, and I highly recommend that if you don't do this particular habit, that you start picking it up because it can be life-changing. The habit of reading. Pick up the habit of reading and become a learning expert. Because the more you learn, Warren Buffett says the more you learn, the more you earn. And if I want to start, telling you about quotes of the top leaders in the world telling you how important it is to read, you're going to start doing it automatically. There is this TED Talk where I don't exactly remember who the speaker was, but he said, when I wake up in the morning, I have the Dalai Lama teaching me how to meditate. And then I go to the gym and I have Arnold Schwarzenegger teaching me how to work out. And then I go to work and I have Warren Buffett teaching me how to invest. But they're not actually there. He simply reads the book. He knows how the person thinks and he knows what systems they follow and he implemented them. So this is how important the habit of reading is. So if you've been trying to implement this habit for a while and it hasn't been, successful, or if you haven't been doing it and you want to start doing it, this is the lecture for you. First off, get your reading list ready. The first problem that most people encounter is that they don't know what they want to read. I have a lot of people who tell me, man, I really want to start reading. I want to read some books. I want to learn. I'm like, really? Well, what do you want to read? What do you want to learn about? They're like, oh, I don't know. I just want to read something. Well, when you don't know what you want to read, when you don't know what you're trying to learn, you're not going to find the motivation to do it because you don't have an end goal. You don't know where you're headed. But when you do have a reading list, when you sit down and say, start thinking, well, what do I learn? What do I want to get better at? What do I want to expand my knowledge in? What field? And then you go on Google and you research, what are some top books in this particular field or in this industry or some books about this particular topic. And you're going to find tons of books on the internet that talk about this subject or, the topic that you're researching. Then pick some of these books. Pick a list of books that you want to read. Once you have this list, it's going to be easier. Pick a list of books you want to read so that your brain is fixated on a clear and precise goal. You know what you want to get out of the habit. You know what your goal is, where you want to get better, what you want to learn, and you also know what you need to read, all the books that you need to read to become better with this particular topic. So if you don't have a reading list yet, get one set up as soon as you can because it will motivate you to pick up the habit and keep going. The second thing is define your motivation. Well, of course you need to define your motivation because if your motivation is not backed up by a reason, by a goal, you're not going to find it. It's going to be, really mild or non-existent sometimes. Well, why do you want to read? Why do you want to read? What is the motivation behind it? When you find a source of motivation that is linked to achievement and self-actualization, you will find it easier to remember to pick up the book and read it as it aligns with your day-to-day goals. If you work, for example, in marketing, you do a lot of advertising and a lot of marketing, and you know that you want to expand your knowledge in that industry. You want to get better at this topic. So every day you're working on marketing. And then when you have a reading list that's ready about the top marketing books out there, and you know that your motivation is to get better at marketing so you can reach a certain goal, to have more income, to grow your business, to get promoted at work, then this motivation will be fueled by the goal that you set, and you will find it easier to pick up the habit and keep going with it. Now, I'm going to talk about two systems that I've used and that I've helped a lot of my clients use that are very, very efficient. The first one is start by reading a chapter a day. It is way easier to read one chapter a day than read a book a day. I know a lot of people who say, I want to start reading, and they put such a big goal. I want to read a book a day, like Tai Lopez, or I want to read a book a week. Well, if you're still fresh and you're still, starting, you can't really set such a big goal. Maybe you can, and if you can and you do, then that's amazing. But if you've been struggling with the habit of reading, this might be one of your problems. Maybe you're setting up the bar too high that you can't reach it. Go one step at a time. Start with setting a micro goal, a minimal goal, which is I want to read at least one chapter a day, or I want to read at least 10 pages a day. And sometimes you might feel, that you're energetic and you're focused and you can read more, and that's fine. As long as you do the minimal goal, which is reading at least 1 chapter or 10 pages or 5 pages, whatever you're comfortable with. Now, once this behavior starts developing into a habit, you can then work up the amount of reading that you do every day. When you've been reading a chapter a day, minimum of chapter a day or 10 pages a day for the past, 20 days, 30 days, and then you feel like, you're ready to step it up to read more, you take it up a notch. You say, okay, now my minimal goal is to read 20 pages a day or to read 2 chapters a day. And you keep working your way up until you get to the point where you can read a book a day or a book a week or a book every 3 days, depending on what your goal is and what you're comfortable with. You can do it if you go step by step. Now, another thing also, another system, which is to use Pomodoro sessions. For those of you who don't know what Pomodoro sessions are, basically it's a productivity technique where you work on a task for 25 minutes, exactly 25 minutes, and as soon as the 25 minutes are over, you stop. Take a break for 5 minutes and then go again for 25 minutes. And keep doing that until you feel yourself getting tired. Then you can take a longer break, 15 minutes or 20 minutes. So it is also easier to read for 15 minutes a day or 25 minutes every day as a start than to read for 2 or 3 hours. And again, once you pick up the habit, you can gradually start increasing your reading time. But set a system, set a minimal goal that you know you can stick by. Even if it's 1 page a day, pick a goal that no matter what happens, you can achieve it. 1 page a day would take 2 minutes. You can do that. Start with the sweet spot, identify it, pick this minimal goal and start, whether it's Pomodoro sessions of 15 minutes or 25 minutes or 30 minutes, or you pick a certain amount of pages or a chapter or 2 chapters. Pick that goal, find your motivation, have your reading list ready, and then start pushing and keep going and keep track of your results. Once you finish reading a book, put a big check mark that you finished this book. This will give you the sense of fulfillment and it will give you this push of motivation that you need to keep going. So guys, even if you're not a big fan of reading, just pick up the habit and believe me, you will be thankful for this advice that I'm giving you right now in the future. Even if you're reading a chapter a day or a page a day, start picking up the habit because the more you learn, the more you know. And the more you know, the more skillful you'll get. And even if you're just reading for pleasure, you can also do that. But make sure that you enjoy and that you find the pleasure in reading. Because if you don't and you say, I want to start reading for pleasure and it's not really something pleasurable for you, then you need to redefine your motivation and your goal. And without further ado, I hope you guys enjoyed this lecture and I'll see you all in the next one.